Welcome back. If you saw last week's video, we gave a little overview into sociocracy and our governance model. And this week we'll be talking a little bit more about sociocracy, how we're implementing it, what the structure looks like.
Hey y'all, so let's dive in. First, I'm going to talk about the structure of sociocracy and how that works. And now the main component are working circles, or affectionately called circles. These are semi-autonomous, meaning they work primarily on their own, groups that are responsible for specific sections or parts of an organization. So what does that look like? We came together, 6 people, founding members, meeting together to tackle such questions as where do we buy land, how much do we have to buy land, and what does it look like to pool our resources. Translating this into sociocracy terms, that's called the general circle. Now this is the main decision-making body, the ones that are responsible for answering those such giant questions that I mentioned. To make a circle, it has a defined domain and aim. Now the domain is the defined role of the circle, or the roles and responsibilities. This you can think of it as the circle encompassing all the responsibilities for that team. The aim is the ongoing objective of the group, which is connected to the mission and values of the organization as a whole. As we were meeting as the general circle, we started finding that there were other groups that started needing to meet outside of that. So we identified 4 additional groups that we wanted to create. We found a need for strategy. Who was going to keep us moving towards a specific goal and target on a timeline? Governance. We knew we needed, as we've mentioned in previous videos, a governance structure to create the business to buy the land. We knew we wanted a team for social media so that we'd be able to produce such videos as this. And we knew we needed a team that would be tackling questions around financial systems. How do we even buy the land, and what does it take to open a bank account in Costa Rica? So now I wanted to find SubCircle, because what happens when you break away from the general circle is you're getting into SubCircle territory. SubCircles are created from the broader circle, or the mother circle, when there is a need for more specific domain, meeting schedule, and policy decisions. Kind of an example when you know you need to create a SubCircle is when there's more than 7 people, or when there are too many responsibilities to keep track in a succinct meeting, or if the project expands and just requires its own time. From that, we started back with the general circle, and I'll walk you through what we have. We now have the social media circle, which you're looking at. We have the governance circle, we have the strategy circle, and we have the financial systems circle. Now when we look at these, it's kind of easy to assume that these different circles, the main mother circle and the sub-circles around it, have a bit more of like a hierarchy, but I want to be clear that there is no power hierarchy here. Some people call them layers. This basically means that the responsibilities are split accordingly. So I'll get into that pretty soon, because right now I'm going to take you to our future circle layout. So what does this look like when we're on the land? Right now we have the 4 sub-circles where we're splitting up our tasks and responsibilities, but we've already thought forward into what this is going to look like expanded when we A, have more people, and B, have more responsibilities. So you can see that same general circle, and now outside of that are 7 sub-circles. These are going to be the main components of what we work with on a day-to-day and month-to-month basis. So we have our animals, we have outreach, community spaces, infrastructure, growing, stewardship, and finance. I want to highlight stewardship for just a sweet moment because it is one circle that is atypical of other sociocracy structures. We're adding it because stewardship is so important to us, and we felt that it was necessary to split out so that it had the time and attention that it deserves. So now, what does it look like when we add our sub-circles? We can get as granular as you want in terms of circles to sub-circles. Remember, each circle has its own domain and aim, so its own roles and responsibilities and meeting structure, and its own ongoing goal. That's really important to remember as we keep diving down into the layers of sociocracy circles here. So here's a slide with all of our sub-circles. It's a lot, right? Like we said earlier, a community homestead has a lot of responsibilities to share. So you can see we had these typical circles, the 7 circles I mentioned earlier, and then those are spread out into different subcircles. I'm not going to read all of them off to you, but a good example is that if we look at our outreach team, for example, those have 2 subcircles, one being social media, which is our current circle now, but as we expand, it's just going to be one smaller part of our broader outreach. So another subcircle would be community outreach. That's super important to us, being able to involve the local community as well as integrate them and allow them to have a say. Remember, there's not a hierarchy here, right? So you can show the same organization of circle groups in other ways. Here's just one other example. In this example, in these layers, the difference is not a power hierarchy. It is just the difference in specificity of domains or the roles and responsibilities. So you can see a general circle, there's a more broad focus. We're looking at bigger issues here and talking about and voting on bigger questions and problems. Whereas in the subcircles, like we're talking the community outreach team, it has a very specific focus and a specific domain of responsibility. So that is when we talk about hierarchy, we really just talk about the hierarchy as it relates to the responsibilities, but no more than that. Another way to look at it in sociocracy is called circular hierarchy. Now this is going to lead really beautifully into Krisha's section where she talks about how these circles work together. But in circular hierarchy, each circle has a top, up, and bottom relationship at the same time.
This week, we introduced you to circles in sociocracy. Next week, Krisha will talk about how these circles work together. Thank you for tuning in. Now it's your turn to tell us in the comments, what circles do you have in your current career or home life? Or what circles do you want to participate in? Hint, I know I, Gannon here, am most excited about the animal circle. So thank you so much again for watching. Please like, subscribe, and tell everyone that you know about this amazing sociocracy. We're so excited to get it shared with you. See you next week.